Welcome back, or welcome if you're just joining us. It's the France 24 debate, and we're looking at the race to rescue those still trapped under the rubble and to bring, as one of our guests, Mike Penrose, was saying, to bring food relief to those who are sleeping out in the streets. We're in the company of Mike Penrose of the humanitarian aid organization Action contre la faim, Action Against Hunger. We're joined from Kathmandu by Nepalese journalist Ujjwal Acharya, Nepal's ambassador to France. Welcome back, Ambika Devi Luintel, and Eric Solheim, who chairs the OECD's Development Assistance Committee. Just briefly, tell us about the OECD's Development Assistance Committee.
We are basically a norm-setting organization which provides experience as to what works and what does not work on development and how to mobilize the money. So what we can potentially assist with in these circumstances is to point to where are the best examples on rebuilding after a catastrophe. I would suggest that is Aceh in Indonesia. And what are the worst examples you should avoid, potentially like Haiti after the earthquake there. And to learn from this can be very useful, I think, from Nepal. Not today, but after a week or two when you have to focus on the long-term needs.
Oh, so you said there can be a silver lining. We're going to pick up on that point in a moment. First of all, let me ask you, Ujjwal, what's the situation when it comes to food right now?
It differs according to the places where people are staying. In the places like mine, where it's easy to access houses for a brief period of time, there is still the supply for food for a few more days. But there are camps where people, in the tented camps, when people are staying and they cannot access their home. I was in, as I told you, I was in Bhaktapur today, and there was a supply truck coming in, and people were actually asking if it was water. They were lined up to get the water. So it's like the food in many of those camps, especially in the dense area where people have just run out of their alleys and house to go to some open places. The food must be very scarce by today.
Mike Penrose, the food situation. What are going to be the needs? If you're hearing here, this is a middle class neighborhood that he was talking about, where there still is food for a few days. What's the situation going to be in Kathmandu in a week's time?
That's always the problem. I think food is one of the critical issues because a lot of the destroyed buildings, people have lost all of their possessions with it. The logistics and the supply chain just won't be functioning. And a lot of big cities work on what the traders call just-in-time logistics. So they don't have massive stores. They bring it in every day or every few days. And what tends to happen, especially in big urban disasters, is that very quickly the amount of food disappears and it's very, very difficult to resupply.
We know that the Nepalese, but also the Chinese and the Indians are working to reopen the roads.
Yes. Everybody is working now there, but exactly the situation, as I said, that the communication has been very, very difficult, even for me to be in touch with Nepal. So in that case, even with me, it's very, very difficult to get the information from Kathmandu. Very, very difficult for myself also what exactly is happening. Definitely rubbles will have to be clear in order to smoothen the transportation, because without the transportation, food cannot be brought also even from India side, because the road side, India and Chinese side, so from both sides, so the road will have to be opened. So these things are, I suppose that they are all they are working on that one, but rubbles have to be clear. That's the thing. And there might be a lot of people, as already Minister Eric Solheim said, that there might be people who are lying under the rubble. So we can still hope that there can be some people who are still alive, and if we can do it quickly, then we can still make certain people still bring back them into the life.
All right. By the way, it's not just Nepal that's been hit by this earthquake. Another 66 people killed across the border in India, at least another 20 in Tibet. That's according to China's state news agency. Now the Chinese clearing the main road into Nepal and sending rescuers across the border from earthquake-prone Sichuan.
With an earthquake of this magnitude, it's very difficult to rescue people because there's not enough room for equipment. We have to go about it manually, which is very risky.
And again, that brings back the point we were making in part one of our discussion, which is the difficulty of getting those people out alive from underneath the rubble, Eric Solheim.
No, I think we need to think in different phases. I mean, the extremely urgent thing is to get out everyone you can get out of the rubble, because that's life-saving. They cannot be saved in a week to come. Then next is to provide water, tent, food, so that people are suffering in the streets get some relief. And then, of course, in some weeks' time, to really put the eyes on the long-term rebuilding of Nepal. Nepal, I mean, was through a very difficult time before this. I mean, they had the People's War of the Maoists in the 1990s. Then 10 years of one of the most successful peace processes on the planet. It's really an admiring. I'm a huge admirer of the peace process in Nepal, but it made the politicians focus on peace, and have not really been able to rebuild society, to provide economic development, and they will now need to both provide rapid economic growth while at the same time rebuilding after this catastrophe.
So you were making the point that in places like Aceh in the Philippines, Indonesia, after the tsunami, they were able to rebuild.
I know of no other fantastic, brilliant success of rebuilding after a catastrophe like Aceh. I think it's a shining global example as to how to do it, and I think Nepal can learn a lot. I suggest you invite the ministers who were in charge of the Aceh rebuilding to share their experience. What they did was to say that we take charge. 2/3 of the money for the reconstruction of Aceh was provided by international actors, by Europe, US, and others. 1/3 by Indonesia. But Indonesia was in charge. Their minister, Pak Kuntoro, led it. He told France, I mean, you do this house construction project. He told civil society, you do this. He told Japan, please provide for a road. And that leadership is very often lacking in rebuilding after catastrophes, because people, they're poor nations, they want everything, and you need this kind of leadership, and that's why it was so successful in Aceh.
I'll say the need for a game plan, both for the emergency aid and also for the long-term reconstruction.
Yes, of course. At the foremost is the rescue and relief, and then only the second phase would be, I would say, restoration and renovation works. Because first of all, now I think we have to concentrate on the rescue and relief thing. And a lot of people have been injured also. We have to think about that, focusing on how to bring them into their normal life. We need the orthopedic surgeon, anesthetic, and all those people are also in need there, very much in need.
Ujwal Acharya, how's the government doing when it comes to running traffic, if you will, making sure that the right rescuers go to the right place, that the right information gets out, having a game plan?
I think one of the things that I most admire is that they have at least kept the electricity supply and things like that, and the roads have been opened very promptly. So I must admire the government for these two reasons, because these help a lot. But beside that, the hospitals, the treatment provided to the injured people has been good as well. They are crowded. The hospital are very, very crowded. There is a lack of things. But at least if you go to the hospital, the injured could get there some attention by some kind of medical staff. And that has been a very admirable part of on the side of the government. Beside that, they have also assigned the Nepalese army for coordinating all the rescue operations and rescue people coming in from around the world. And I think they have been dispatched to the right places. But sadly, I haven't been able to meet any of those when I went around to the places where are hard hit. And that's one of the sad part I find, because I went to the places where there are many killings. And it's really disheartening to see that no one has actually visited that place. The story I told about Bhaktapur, about a 40-year-old woman being buried in a rubble, they also told me that they have informed the police, they have informed the concerned state agencies, but nobody had arrived in like 48 hours to do the rescue operation or to assess what had happened. The police, the armed police rescue team that was passing by the area were asked to stop by the rocker, but they said they are going to another place for the rescue, and they are not going to do the rescue there. So I think there is still need to be more coordinated effort in the rescue, and the government need to reach the places which are hard hit. If the situation of Kathmandu is like this, you can only imagine how the situation will be outside Kathmandu, where we have been hearing that the whole villages have been ravaged by the earthquake. I have been hearing stories from the people who are saying that their houses in the villages and even the whole villages, no houses has remained intact. So it's a really difficult situation, and the government, I think, they are not they are doing good, but there need to be speed up, and there need to be even more efficiency in all these efforts to make sure that everything goes at least not a very, very bad way.
All right, a couple of questions on the back of that. Mike Penrose, Ujwal telling us there that the army's been put in control of logistics to a certain degree. Good idea?
In almost any national disaster like that, it is the army that takes control. I think I heard 9 out of 10 Nepalese soldiers have been mobilized. In the Pakistan earthquake, nobody could have got or reached the areas worst affected if it hadn't have been for the military. And the same goes for the work in Aceh. Now, in a lot of conflict environments, we would advocate very strongly against military engagement with humanitarian aid. But in a natural disaster like this, it's everyone who has a pair of hands needs to get involved.
Everyone who has a pair of hands, and you heard the call there from Ujwal saying they're doing the best they can, but we still need more coordination. We need more presence.
We always need more, but as we're saying, one of the biggest problems is how do you get the volume that's needed? We're talking about 3 million people now who are already identified as being affected, with probably far more when we get greater access being affected. Getting that sheer volume in and getting the number of people in that are needed to help is an almost impossible task. Coordination is essential, but we also know the basics of what are needed early on, and agencies just need to mobilise as quickly as possible.
Question coming in on Twitter from Glass Hippo. Besides making a donation, what else can we do what can we as individuals do feeling helpless? Can you, Ambassador, what can people do besides make a donation?
Oh, they can, one thing is, of course, support each other. Then from within the community itself, of course, a donation, just not just the money. I mean, the money is, of course, that can be used for later purposes, for buying the things and, of course, the food and other things. That is the most important. And also the comfort, the people, that the moral support, that is also very important at the moment, because giving them the comfort also, that is very important.
Even when you live the other side of the earth?
Other side of the earth, you can just give them a call. That's all you can do. You cannot do much about it. But however, even if you can ask your relatives or somebody to go and see if they can do. But the problem here is that people cannot go. All people are outside. That's the thing. The tremor is coming anytime, because this, as he mentioned, that about an hour ago there was a tremor at around 6 o'clock, because when I was calling with I was speaking to my colleague, so he just said just a tremor comes, so everybody was running out. So this is the problem is there, that the thing is, it's very, very difficult how we could cope with it. But the thing is that grouping, sitting together and helping each other, I think that is the way that we could help each other in that position when they are. So I think, a lot of people are doing the wherever it is possible, that people are trying to give the food and other things within the group also, that is happening there. As I hear from some of the friends from Nepal, that they are giving their ground where a lot of people are staying. So this is happening also.
Eric Solheim, we saw earlier those Chinese rescuers coming across, the Indians from the other direction, the Americans, the French, people from I could name every country on the planet basically, and I want to react to that, your reaction as well to that viewer who says, what can we do to help? There really is public pressure from around the globe. Has that always been the case, or is that something new?
That's for sure new. If you go back in history, there was nothing like this, because people see it on TV, and that's the best instinct in every human being. You see this suffering, this enormous suffering of individuals in Nepal on TV, and you want to do something. Don't discourage that. Please ask people to support, like Action Against Hunger, Red Cross, Red Crescent, all the organizations who do actual work there. I mean, people cannot now rush to Nepal to help themselves, but they can support those who do the work. Put pressure on the governments of Europe and others to really assist, and give yourself a promise that I will not forget Nepal when it's out of the limelight. I will remember Nepal for the years to come. Maybe plan the summer holiday the next year in Nepal. It's a fantastic, beautiful, brilliant nation, and go there. Encourage business to invest there, and make certain that when it's out of the limelight, still the world will support Nepal.
Thank you so much.
We're discovering that a lot of people around the world have a soft spot for Nepal.
Yeah, it is a very beautiful country. I mean, as Minister Erik Solheim says that, I mean, not only the mountainous part, the cultural part, and it's really, I mean, those who have visited, they know how Nepal and how Nepalese people are. Those who have not visited, I think this is the time that they should also go after this, aftermath. And before that, of course, the things must have changed now. Things have changed. But this is a very, very beautiful country, and we are really sorry that we have to bear this very tragic event at the moment. But as Erik Solheim said, that this country should be built, and then more investment should come to rebuild it. And then so now you see that
Tour operators, by the way, saying that they are discouraging people from going before the month of May for at least a month to Nepal at this particular point in time. Do you think tourism is going to be hard hit?
Well, tourism is definitely going to be hit by this event, because everybody will be discouraged at this moment. I mean, not everybody would like to go at the moment. But however, I mean, we have to see how things will be within few days, because now the help is on the way. So if the tremor stops, then everybody will go back, and then, of course, the rubbles will have to be cleared. Then things will be back in normal. Of course, the restoration and renovation works will have to be done in the future. But, I mean, if the investment comes from other places, from all over the world, so then we can recover very easily. And we hope that the tourists will also come. I think tourists should not be discouraged because these things happen. These things happen everywhere, so you never know that what will happen when. I mean, we were not expecting such things, and this should not happen to anybody also. So we encourage everybody to go and visit. There are a lot of people who have shown very much interest. Even after this tremor, they said they want to go and visit and also help the people, those who have suffered. You see, even after the tremor. So I do not think that that's a really hard hit. Of course, I mean, it will affect something and a little bit, but not to that extent, I think. I mean, that is estimated or expected.
Erik Solheim, in part one of our discussion, pointing out the fact that there had been this Maoist insurgency in Nepal. There was a peace agreement.
Yeah.
There was a new constitution. But there's been a lot of political gridlock since. Do you think that after this tragedy, there'll be less of that political gridlock?
Well, that is something, it is very difficult for me to answer at the moment. Yes, we are working on the constitution process. Government is working on that. And we hope that the constitution will come very soon.
But remember that this peace process has been so successful that there have been 2 Maoist prime ministers in Nepal. Today it's a Congress leader who's the prime minister. But the main parties have come together, they have solved these issues, and no one is afraid that they will go back to war. But time has now come for finding a settlement to the constitutional discussion which is in Nepal, and then focus very, very firmly on economic development. And if I may add, this is such a beautiful nation, fantastic nature, very, very nice people, and adding some of the greatest cultural treasures on the planet. This is the birthplace of Buddha, just to mention one factor.
Yes.
All right, final word to Ujjwala Acharya. Do you think that at the end of the day, the Nepalese will overcome their internal differences more easily after having shown the solidarity which you've described for us earlier?
I think we Nepalese have gone through many crises in the past, and we always have come together. We have always stand together when it comes to, for the nation to do something for the humanity and things like that. So I think we are going to overcome all this, and we think we are still standing pretty strong. When I go out and talk to the people in the camps, all those people who are very afraid to go inside the building, who are very afraid of what's going to happen to Nepal, because we never had such a terrible tremor in the past. So many of the aftershocks, they are.
The image freezing up there, unfortunately. The Skype connection, unfortunately, fading a bit. Result, of course, of the situation there. It has been patchy throughout the last 2 days. I want to thank Ujjwal Acharya for joining us from Kathmandu. I want to thank the rest of our panel, Ambassador David Wintel. I also want to thank as well Eric Solheim and Mike Penrose. Stay with us, though. Our Media Watch segment is next. Let's say hello to James Creedon. And James, again, that question earlier, what can we do to help? Oh, social media has been enrolled.
That's right. Well, I think a lot of people turned to social networks, especially for family members who were who they couldn't locate, in order to put messages up, maximise the chances of locating their loved ones. So you saw messages like this quite spontaneously appearing on social media. Looking for my sister. This was somebody posting that message in France. But even people locally were using it. I mean, even more so, I suppose. But it became a tool to try to share information online, just with the use of simple hashtags regarding the location. Images that were being posted by family members trying to jog people's memory locally if they were indeed connected on social media, and looking at all that. In any case, you can see that on Topsy, for example, there was a huge spike in the number of tweets using the word Nepal. I think it was over 2.6 million since Saturday, and that doesn't include variations on the theme such as hashtag Nepal earthquake, etc. In any case, that I suppose trend was picked up by social networks such as Facebook, which launched for the first time a system called Safety Check. So if people were in the affected region and were on the social network in question, Facebook, they got a text message or a message saying, "Are you okay?" And they could either hit yes or no, and that helped people, then family members, to find out if they were in turn connected on their family member's Facebook page to know whether they were okay or not. In fact, I saw, personally, knowing somebody in the region, I saw that appearing up on my Facebook news feed. So it was interesting to see.
What, on the wall of that person? Or
that's right. It came up on my news feed that this person who I know living, well, this is in Darjeeling in northern India, but also affected, was in fact safe. And Google, in fact, also put in place a similar system called Person Finder. And Person Finder was first used after the Haiti earthquake. It was disactivated but reactivated on Saturday, and that allows people to upload or crowdsource, I suppose, information, to put that information together in a common space online. And in turn, that helped organisations such as the International Red Cross with their listings of people who are alive or still missing. You can see here kind of a colour coding on the left. And in fact, a lot of that data has been harvested due to Facebook or Google.
So hold on here. It says I'm alive in green, and right. The yellow is missing.
Exactly, and that in part would be down to, for example, Facebook's facility in allowing people to inform their relatives or friends if they were safe or not.
I think also through the Viber, also in a group, they are saying that I'm safe.
Right.
So that is also going on there at the moment.
Viber.
Viber is also working very well at the moment.
So I think it seems that there was a spontaneous desire to use social media. Then the social network platforms themselves actually did everything they could, or at least certainly Viber, Facebook and Google, to facilitate that effort, Francois. So I think that's, I suppose, one positive use of social media in all of this. Now, just to quickly turn to I suppose, appeals for aid, etc. That's also being social media is being used for that. Be with Nepal, or indeed pray for Nepal. You can see images there and hashtags that are being uploaded onto social media. So whether it just be expressions of goodwill, or photos showing people gathering and expressing that goodwill, or in a bid to, I suppose, channel funds towards the aid operation, it has been useful for that as well.
All right,
Yeah.
many thanks.
We also have got now a Facebook here in the embassy at Solidarity Nepal, or in Nepali it's Sahayog Nepal. So we have just set up yesterday so that all Nepalese can, spread up the news of this and then come for the help where possible. So this we have already set up now.
Set up
yesterday.
for the Nepalese community here in France.
Not exactly only for those people who are interested, also the Friends community or whoever, so they are interested. So,
And open to any friends of Nepal.
yeah, all Friends of Nepal.
Okay. Well, thank you, Ambassador. I want to thank our panel. Thank you, James. And stay with us. There's more to come on this story and more here on France 24.